Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we are talking about a fanfiction called Mitosis and its Consequences. Details about this fanfiction will be in the description below. This follows Merlin and technically it switches point of view, but technically we start off with Merlin, right? Because they're holding a feast and the queen of that country is going to be there, and they already have like shaky kind of alliance with them, and so to uphold that treaty, they it's a very important feast that has to go right, and to be there, right? So Arthur's not really worried about the magic problem of the day, which is what he thinks is Merlin brings up. It's like, oh, I'm not really all that, because the feast is more important, right? Because he thinks it's like a wolf or something that some people are worried about going around and attacking some of the animals, right? And Merlin, he'd agree, except, getting more testimonies out of people shows that it's clearly anything but a wolf. Very clearly a creature of magic from Morgana. And so they have to, but Merlin has to, he can't be in two places at once, because during times like these, during feasts, people just love to try and assassinate Arthur, and he's like none the wiser. So of course he's like, gotta be, I have to be in two places at once. So he ends up going through the book and finding a spell, and I guess it goes terribly wrong, right? Because it's supposed to, it'll create like a mirror of himself. Perfect. Except as he's like doing the spell, he realizes, kind of like before he can do anything about it, the spell completes itself before he can complete it. And so immediately it's like all like, it's not like hurting him, but he feels weird. Like his magic is kind of basically leaving him. And that's when we realize, you realize, oh shit, his magic did leave him, because standing opposite of him is an exact mirror of him, just with golden eyes. And it's like, oh no. It's like, oh, that is, and we even get from his point of view, Emrys, which is just like what we're called. We can't call him Merlin 1 and Merlin 2. So it's Merlin and Emrys. So we get from, I like how we get from Emrys' point of view, where there's no real distinction, because it's like, where does Merlin end and where does Emrys begin? And how at one point, one minute he was staring in the mirror, chanting spell, and the next he's here. So I do like how there's no real, even though he still has his own, he has his own consciousness, think his own thoughts, but he's still very much just as much as Merlin as he is Emrys. And again, this doesn't, the process of it didn't hurt Merlin, but it felt weird, and it felt like something's very clearly wrong. And so when he tries to do a spell, and Emrys knows this too, where it's with how with how hard he's chanting, it should work, it doesn't work. As point that you realize, oh, they're separate, so Emrys is all of Merlin's magic, all of him. And this is the way that obviously realize this is bad, because obviously without him, Merlin starts being sick, sickly pale, and he can barely stand on his own. So they get him back to his room. Thankfully, Gaius isn't even there to question, what the hell did you do? And so he gets him back to his room, and so he can rest. Doesn't know how long it's passed, but enough time has passed that Arthur's come looking for him, because it's about to start in an hour, and you haven't even turned up. But then that wakes him up, and he notices like he stops mid sentence because he notices Merlin. How pale he looks. How sickly. Like he looks like he's about to like fall over and die, basically. And so he looks at him. He's like, "Are you okay?" Like, it's bad when you Arthur like drops off pretense of like pretending not to care. He just straight up like, "Are you okay?" Like, and like Merlin does trying to kind of like play it off, and Arthur in his own kind of way does his very Arthur way where he's like, "I'll just get another serve to make it, but to thank me, you should be up by tomorrow morning." As clearly in his own way saying, "Take a break, get better." Jesus, but Merlin refuses. It's like he has to be there for Arthur, right? I mean, I don't know how much protecting you could do in this moment, right? Your magic's gone. You are really ready to die right now, but he's got to be there. And like he's like barely standing, and so Arthur like reluctantly agrees, but he's but he does make Leon. He's like, "Oh, fine," but Leon's gonna look after you the entire time. It's like he basically has like a babysitter. Obviously, this little piece doesn't really last long because someone has come in bloodied and like clearly about to just looking worse. And they inform Arthur, like, yeah, the creature, it's a creature of magic. We're gonna die. So they suit up and they end up going. And obviously, doesn't work. I mean, you're about to die. And so that's when a figure jumps out and kind of intervenes and starts fighting the creature. And this is where we get from Arthur's point of view, where he's at first thinking, "Oh, this is a brave, like just random huntsman, and he's about to get himself killed, and you know he's can't let that happen." And then he sees them use magic, and he's like, immediately shifts to like, did he call, like, did they cause all this? Like, oh, why would he be fighting his own creature? Like, what is happening? Like, very clearly still suspicious women, like wondering if they're working with Morgana. And then we see, and he kind of sees Merlin call out to him and kind of rushing over towards him. And that's because the creature's dead now. And that's where he sees, like, because they're turning around, this is where he sees it's Merlin's face. And so he immediately assumes, and to be fair, from his point of view, not knowing anything, this does make sense, right? Creature suddenly appears, Merlin suddenly out of nowhere falls ill, and then there's just this guy who looks like exactly like a Merlin, just like gold eyes. Okay, that does look suspicious. So he's immediately thinking, I put the pieces together. This is the person that planned everything, so he could sneak in and take Merlin's place, and so he's like pissed off from like what he thinks. He's like, I can't believe like he would be, taking the place of like basically one of the most trusted people in Camelot. And I'm like, oh my god, that is true. Merlin can just go anywhere without question. Like he can just go anywhere and kind of do anything without even like, oh yeah, that's just whatever. Like he has like him being late, no one questions it because he just has a reputation of being chronically late to like most things. But like no one questions anything. I'm like, wow, you were gone for like 30 hours. Where are you? Just having or something. Just like, okay, just like no one cares. Just don't even worry about it. But he immediately goes to attack, and obviously it doesn't work. Neither does when Gwaine and like the rest go to attack because he just immediately summons vines, ties them up. Merlin intervenes, like, okay, enough of this. We have bigger problems to solve. And Arthur thinks, as he's like walking towards him, he thinks, oh, this is it. I'm gonna watch Merlin die. It's like, no. It's like, he's completely fine, right? And so they're talking, it's like, we have to tell them. It's like, but like, you have to trust me. Like, I have an idea. Because Emrys is thinking, you're insane if you're just going to tell him, hey, I have magic. And by the way, this is my magic in human form, basically. Like, and so when he does tell him, Arthur's still thinking, like, is he threatening you or whatever? He's like, no, it's like, technically, this face is also his. You know, they share it. It's like, this is my twin brother, Emrys. Like, that's the idea you came up with? So, he's like, this is my twin. Now, obviously, hearing this, Arthur's like, not believing this. Like, they're not believing this because this is the first time they've ever heard about this, right? And so thinking, does this guy like enchant Merlin? Like, what's, you know? He really is like, how do we know you didn't enchant him or something, right? But obviously he's like, I am Hun's son. Like, Merlin's my brother. We both grew up in Ealdor, right? Just casually dropping like he information, like he knows. And this is Gwaine. He's like, well, where were you then? It's like, where were you when Merlin? It's like your home when it was being attacked, when everyone was like in danger. It's like, where were you then? Like, or the times where Camelot, like, we're all probably gonna die, like those moments. And Merlin was very clearly there, like, dragon attacking, and then you were never there. And Gwaine's like accused him of like, you're just power hungry, you left as soon as you could, like, you as soon as you discovered you had magic, and offended because this is technically still Merlin, okay? They both know this, and so like offended here. I mean, they have their own thoughts. Like, they literally are like separate people, but also still the same. Still, so he's like offended for himself and also on Merlin's behalf. It's like, it's just the same, but different people right now. But he immediately puts it in this place of like, I was born with magic. The moment it's like my eyes of golden. It's like I couldn't stay there. It's like, because what was the king's name? I don't even remember what their king's name is, but he's known for hunting down, slaughtering entire villages just to get like sorcerers, like powerful ones, right? Basically enslaving them, which, like, you know what? Death is better than that. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. And then you have Uther, which, like, reputation of being the butcher. I'm good. Like, so he's like, I had to leave for my mother and my brother's for their own protection. Because if any of them found out, like, especially Uther, my God, they'd be dragged into it. They'd be burned. They'd be burned too, just for being associated with him. So he's like, don't, like, I don't care about. And this is when, he says, like, I've come here because Merlin's dying, right? He's like, I've come here because he's dying and I'm the only one who can save him. Arthur immediately feels like his world is like gone because he's like, Merlin and dying should not be in the same sentence. What are you talking about? He's like, you're lying. Like, there's no way. But then he really looks at Merlin and like thinks back. It's like, he does not look good. He looks so pale, almost like he's ready to roll over and die any second now. And like, thinking about earlier how he just out of nowhere just kind of became this deathly, like, pale and sick. So, makes sense. So now he's thinking, it's like, you did it, like, for leverage. Like, you had to have done, like, he's coming up with, like, anything. And he's like, because there's no way, thinking about Morgana, he's like, there's no way, like, you guys are, like, none of you are capable of love, like, it corrupts you. And again, technically still Merlin offended. He's like, I was like, I am nothing like Morgana. Like, both of them are offended too. Like, he's like, I am nothing like Morgana. He's like, the only reason I'm here is because he got sick because he was trying to stop the creature that your sister released. He's like, and honestly, you owe magic to so much. He's like, and then he like starts listing off things like that magic very clearly helped him with. He's like, oh, did you think you just defeated a dragon all on your own? It's like, he starts just going down the list. He's like, did you think you just survived the questing beast? Or like an immortal army just suddenly just like is gone when you just wake up? It's like, or like that light in a cave just appear out of nowhere and like to just like a like some sort of miracle and to just guide you out. It's like, do you think Merlin really survived like the Doraka? Like, really? It's like, no. So as he's listening, it's like, Jesus. And like, he's very clearly doing all this, just kind of like rub it in. He's like, oh, you don't know, do you? It's like, which, alright, I mean, like, deserved. But like, Merlin's like stepping in, like, alright, enough of that. But it does make Arthur think, because Emrys did all that, not because, to him at least, not because he particularly cared for Camelot or really anyone there, it's because Merlin does. So he did all that for Merlin. And he's come back to Camelot, a place I've seen him dead for Merlin. Because, he's dying. And so he's thinking, like, in the back of my mind, he's really thinking, like, if he could resist the corruption of magic, because he loves his, like, brother so much, why couldn't Morgana do the same? Which is actually very sad. Like, it's kind of depressing when you think about it that way. They end up writing back, and Gaius is there, obviously still suspicious of Emrys and his claims. So they end up asking Gaius, like, oh, and like, do you swear, like this is really like what he's saying is the truth? And Gaius is just like so put out. He's looking at him like, oh my god, what did you do? And he's like, yes. For obvious reason, he couldn't be revealed. And then once they leave, he's like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? He's like, what did you do? It's like, I was, it just happened. And so they're like, but the next day, Emrys is gone, clearly with Arthur studying like how to fix this. So Merlin comes stumbling out. He's already half dead, right? He's awful, and he almost falls flat on his face. But Percival catches him. That's where he knows that the others are there. Leon, Elaine, and Gawain. They're all there. They're like, "Oh my god, you're finally awake!" And Merlin, this is actually kind of sad. Because he never wants to like. And this is probably the first time he's really admitting it out loud, even though they don't really know the full context. But he's confused on why they're there. It's like, oh, are you like babysitting me? And they're like, and they finally genuinely said to like, no, we're just worried about you. It's like, brother, you're dying. what are you talking about? So they find this genuinely like, oh my god, like, because Merlin can't wrap his head around the fact that it's like, because like, again, they don't know the full context, but to him, it's like, without his magic, he can't do anything. He can't protect him. He's pretty useless without it, right? Is what he's thinking. He's just Merlin, and that's not good enough, which is like really sad. And of course, they don't really know the context, like the full context. So, it just kind of ends up him being like, oh, I'm not the one like who can really, has the power to fix everything. So, you should be with Arthur and Emrys. And they're all like immediately stand up to appalled by this. Like, whoa, Merlin, what what are we talking about, right? And so they talk about like you changed our life. Like Gwen especially, where he's like, dude, it's like you changed our lives for the better. It's like we genuinely care about you. You matter. And Leon like even says it's like you changed everyone. Like Camelot itself too. It's like everyone was kind of like when Arthur would finally become king, it would be like Uther 2.0, right? And I love how Merlin's first reaction was to be defensive. Like, he's nothing like his father, he's not. And it's like, yeah, but like, you brought that out of him. You taught him, like, still get to kind of question your father here and there, right? But it's like, that was because of like what Merlin brought out of him. And like, let's be honest here. I mean, like, the first like time you met was him being a dick to a servant. So like, I'm not saying, but like, like that was literally the first time you met. But they'll have like a heart to heart where they tell Merlin, it's like basically like, you matter to us, like we care about you, like. So like he kind of bursts down crying, and I'm like, that's sweet, and also kind of really sad that Merlin sees himself that way. That it's like, because his magic is such like a big part of like his destiny and like of who he is and like his like in the destiny and everything. So without it, he's like, I can't really fulfill it. I can't do anything. It's like, it's so sad. That, like, without his magic, he feels like he's like, I'm just nothing. And then we cut to Arthur and Emrys. They're talking, and they kind of have their own talk about, you know, how Arthur can't help but compare him and Merlin to him and Morgana. And, he gets surprised at this because, like, what are you talking about? And he can't help but compare it because, more like, he's clearly powerful. He has, like, he's clearly powerful. And Morgana was kind of the same way, but she chose to kind of decide, like, I'm just gonna kill you, which I guess to him, because, like, he's kind of oblivious. It kind of seems out of nowhere, but it's like, oh my god, it didn't come out of nowhere. I really didn't. I know you want to be like blinders on, but so Emrys is like, that didn't come out of nowhere. And he's like, let me hammer it home for you. She's in a kingdom that would literally see her dead for just being born that way. And like, as Uther, like, as much as Uther like probably like really did care for her and love her, immediately overruled by, like, if he ever found out, like, if she had magic, wouldn't hesitate to just kill her. And he's killed plenty of people who didn't have magic to begin with, just on their own, and or because they were friends, family, or just in some way associated with whoever, like, was being burned. It's like he would literally see them all executed. It's like, so not great. But so what happened to Morgana, like, it was just like her fear ate her alive, and she had no one to turn to but Morgie, like, her sister, which is sad, like a really sad outcome, but almost kind of inevitable. And then he's talking about, like, well, why didn't you turn like that? It's like, why are you, like, even protecting Camelot? Like, the king just seemed dead. It's like, well, I'm not gonna, like, he's born with it. And then he gets into the prophecy, because obviously still framing it like they're two different people. So he's not completely lying, but, like, just perspective change. But by the time he found out about Destiny, Merlin was already in Camelot. So at first he's like, I was doing it to protect Merlin, but then found something else, as he got more attached, obviously found something else, like, to protect Camelot for a different reason. Once he, like, tells them, like, the prophecy of once a future king and how he's supposed to, like, help in it, he's like, and this is where he'll realize that it's not. Arthur's like, wait, Merlin's supposed to be king? It's like, what are you talking? No, you idiot. He's like, well, I mean, it just makes sense. So, he's like, and don't tell him I said this. But, like, he's wise. He always gives me great advice. Like, sir, you don't even always take that advice. But, like, I'm glad we're acknowledging that he gives great advice, even though you don't always take it. But, like, okay. So, and, like, he doesn't even realize he's, like, saying all this out loud, too, because he gets embarrassed. He's like, but, like, don't tell him I said that. It's like, right. And he ends up saying it, And this is where, as Emrys, right, again, he's, like, describing Arthur. And Arthur's kind of realizing he talks about him the same way Merlin does. But it doesn't make sense. Because obviously Merlin has known him for a long time. They have a lot of trust between each other. And, I mean, to an extent, he really doesn't understand why you even have that much faith in him. But, like, still, they have so much history together. But for Emrys, who, like, they don't. So it doesn't make sense why he has that much faith in him. And then he kind of, like, almost slowly starts putting pieces together. He's like, the way you talk about me, it's like, and how you have much faith in me, like, the same way Merlin does. It's almost like you're one and the same. And as he said that, it was like, I guess that's what he needed, right? Because the dudes, they said it in, like, almost like a riddle way. But, like, I guess that's what they needed to fix it. But Merlin and Emrys are now back as one. And it's probably, like, a really disturbing, it was just from Arthur's point of view, because, suddenly he's talking about how similar, him and his brother are, how Merlin, how they are to each other. And then Emrys starts just glowing and then just disappears. So he thinks the worst of, like, oh god. So he starts rushing towards Merlin and the others, right? And he's like, oh, like thinking the worst, like, oh my god, he's gonna be dead when I get there. It's over because he's like, oh, that's the only reason that Emrys ever disappeared. He's like, oh my god, this is it. He's gonna be dead. And so he gets there, and the others are like they Merlin's in a cot, and he's like gasping for air as like gold like magic surrounds him, and he's like, and they're all like panicking because they don't know what to do. Like they were just talking to him a moment, and then he passed out, and now he's like this. So I have no idea what's going on. And they're like, "Is this Emrys today?" And they're like, "I don't know. He just disappeared." And it's like unless one of us like knows magic, like where's the sorcerer? We can't do anything but wait. And then Percival is just like, well, it's like, it's like, well, I don't know magic, but like, because, with druids and everything, he's like, I can at least kind of feel, like, get a feel for the magic, what it is, and, like, what it's doing. So he, the magic's friendly, it's helping Merlin, but, like, that's it. And, like, he really can't do anything else. And Arthur's like, he's like, oh my God. Like, he used to say anything, but he's like, oh my God. How many people in my life have connections to magic? What is this? This is ridiculous. But Merlin ends up being fine, obviously. Back to normal. And he's like, oh, did whatever Emrys do help? It's like, he kind of hesitates, like almost wanting to tell Arthur, like, it's surprise, it's me. But he doesn't. He's like, yeah, it did. I mean, I'm sure you'll see him again in the future. Yeah, or every day. And then we get like one day, like several years like in the future, where Arthur or where Merlin finally tells him like, "Hey, I have magic," and this is where it all comes together. And he starts looking. He's like, "Really, a twin brother? That's all you come up with?" And it's like, I'm like, you saw past any of it. It's like, he's like, "I'm shocked you even keep magic secrets, sir. You didn't know most of the things that were going on." He's like, "You didn't see through it, so what does it matter?" So like, very clearly nothing's changed between them, even though now they know it's like, ta-da, magic. They still argue with each other. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!